Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we are talking about everyone's favorite Tier 7 Premium Commonwealth battleship, the Yukon. So, the Yukon was, of course, the ship, as you can probably guess by the title of this video, that caused the massive implosion of the community back in August. If you're unfamiliar with what happened or need a refresher, back in August of 2021, things had come to a point with the situation between Wargaming and the community, with a lot of the aggressive monetization schemes that Wargaming was putting on, some of the early access events that, unfortunately, some of that seems to be leaking back in with the current Pan-Asian early access event, which I do not like at all. A lot of the aggressive and increased gambling mechanics that have been introduced into the game, on top of a general lack of listening on Wargaming's part to what the community was trying to tell them about this situation. And then the Yukon was released and everything fell apart. So the Yukon is a ship that was, well, supposed to be designed by former community contributor Little White Mouse and her artist pal Chobitsu. They had been asked by Wargaming to design a ship for Canada Day. And given that, they had to work with a model that already existed in game, something that could be tweaked relatively easy in terms of stats and such, they came up with this concept for the Yukon. Now, their Yukon is vastly different from the Yukon that we got in game. And what happened was, there was, in Wargaming's own words, a miscommunication between Wargaming NA and Wargaming St. Petersburg and Little White Mouse and Chobitsu, and apparently some staff had been moved around, and their involvement was not to be on the level of designing the ship as much as just some general input around the ideas of what Wargaming should design in a Tier 7 Premium battleship for the Commonwealth Tech Tree for Canada Day. And one thing led to another, and Little White Mouse and Chobitsu spent over a year designing the Yukon, and they sent all their work in, and then we got the Yukon we got now, which again is pretty much nothing like what they designed. And their response was, "Oh, we didn't want you to do that." So they wasted a year of their time designing this ship, and pretty much nothing from their design was used, from the emblem that they had designed for the Yukon, to the flag, to the camo. Now, some of these have started to make their way into the game. Mainly right now, the camouflage. You can get the Sackville camouflage on your Yukon if you do have it, for the staggering price of free. You can get the HMCS Sackville camo, which is a camo inspired by the HMS Sackville, one of the corvettes that Canada fielded during the Second World War, and it is a very nice looking camo. Chobitsu did an excellent job designing this camo. It looks fantastic on the Yukon, and I'm very glad Wargaming is giving away for those of us that own the Yukon for free. Now, the Yukon itself is still, in my mind, an absolutely terrible ship, and I've talked about it to great lengths before about how terrible this ship is. And I can tell you, after having played this ship, well, shoot, it's not even a year after this thing's been released. This thing's only been out since August of 2021. So a little over, 5-6 months now? It's still quite terrible in-game. And let me tell you, the state of matchmaking right now certainly hasn't helped this ship out at all. I was trying to get B-roll to play in the background for this video. And B-roll is just supposed to be just background footage. It's not supposed to be anything super special or in a super amazing game or anything like that. That's why a lot of times you see, background footage from myself that isn't exactly a stellar performance, but it's just background footage. So the bar isn't extremely high when I'm trying to record these background games. But let me tell you, oh my god, playing this ship double up tiered right now, with the way that things go currently in this meta of World of Warships, it's terrible. Terrible, 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 terrible. The ship has a maximum range of 15.7 kilometers, and you can't increase that except with the spotter consumable, and that's, of course, for a very limited amount of time. Now, 15.7 kilometers, that's quite bad range, even by Tier 7 BB standards. But the whole idea of Yukon is that it's supposed to be this super stealthy battleship that can sneak up on its enemies, blast it with its 9 15-inch guns, which are very large guns for Tier 7, and it's got 9 of them. So it's got a large number of large caliber guns. It's supposed to be stealthy, sneak up on the enemy, blast them in their broadside, and then go on about your day with your stealthy little ship. Well, that doesn't work very well when you're a Tier 7 ship in a Tier 9 game, especially given the armor layout of the Yukon. It's got a 26mm bow and a 26mm stern, and it's working off of the King George V hull, which isn't a very tanky hull in game, although it was one of the most well-armored battleships of the Second World War. In game, it's not that great, unfortunately. So when you get up to Tier 9, your armor's paper. I mean, your armor's still that great, even by Tier 7 standards. So when you do get up to Tier 9, pretty much every battleship you can see can go straight through your armor, unless you run into one of the more battlecruisery battleships with smaller caliber guns, but even then, that's what the Odin and the Brandenburg. Yeah. Or the Dunkirk. So, on top of that, too, they do give you a super heal to kind of balance it out. I guess they kind of thought the ship was going to replace the Nelson as the Tier 7 zombie heal ship. And the heal is quite good. It does repair 1,452 hit points per second, and it does cool down relatively fast at 76 seconds. But, I mean, when you're constantly being just dunked on by ships that are 2 tiers higher than you, that you can't reach back out to them and do anything back, it's incredibly frustrating. On top of that, as well, they took away the Royal Navy HE from the ship, so it doesn't get that good HE. Which means when you get up to Tier 9, you're forced to HE spam because you have 15-inch guns trying to fight Tier 9 ships. Your HE's quite lethargic compared to the Monarch. And this is the Monarch we're talking about. A Monarch is a ship that's considered by many to be quite a bad Tier 8 battleship. In my opinion, I don't think it's the worst Tier 8 battleship. It's fairly decent. It's got a great reload time. It's got British BBHE, 9 15-inch guns with a 25-second reload time, so it's quite good for that, in my opinion. The one good thing that I think most fellers agree about the Monarch has been removed from the Monarch here with the Yukon, to where it's just mediocre HE. So now you have a battleship that is incredibly untanky at Tier 9. It's unable to spam HE well, which is the main thing that it was designed to do off of the base ship. The AP is fairly decent, but the guns aren't terribly accurate at longer range. Because, again, the ship is designed to be a close-in stealthy ship, go in, blast the sides, and run away, and, you know, pop your zombie hill. But it's just terrible at that. And with the way that Tier 9 games go, where, like, your DDs are dead, I do not know what it is with DDs right now. But I had 3 games in a row where by the 5-minute mark, and I am not exaggerating here. I exaggerate sometimes on this channel, I'm really not. By the 5 or 6 minute mark, all my DDs are dead on my team, and the enemy team, they've maybe lost 1 or 2. I do not know what it is right now with Destroyer players and dying in the first 5 minutes. Now, I'm not a fantastic Destroyer player, so I'm not going to go out there and like, oh, you should have done this and this and this right. But, I mean, come on, you should be able to survive for more than 5 minutes. And I get, you know, being called out in the open by radar once or twice, but, I mean, you got to learn the radar ranges, and they're pretty standardized for the nations. So by now, I would imagine the high-tier Destroyer players should know that, but I don't know what it is, if it's the radar, or it's the CVs, or the other DDs. The matchmaking is just stacking for some reason. Good DD players on one side and bad DD players on another side, or what. But I had like 3 or 4 games like that right in a row before I finally got this game. And when the Yukon is top tier, it's really not a terrible ship. The heal makes up for the squishiness of the armor. The 15-inch guns are very, very, very good at Tier 7. Again, having 9 of them, and given its, you know, longer reload time of 31, almost 32 seconds, I understand why you have a Tier 7 battleship with 9 15-inch guns with almost a 32-second reload time. But outside of that situation of when you're top tier, which is how many games out of 10 at Tier 7 now? You know, maybe 1 or 2 games out of 10 when you're an okay ship. I mean, shoot. I would so much rather play Duke of York than the Yukon. And Duke of York is, again, considered to be a pretty terrible premium ship, but I like it, and I think it does quite well. And I'd rather play King George than the Yukon, which is, again, it's a Duke of York, but non-premium version, 14-inch guns, you get 10 of them, pretty good HE spammer, same hull as the Yukon, essentially, except minus the superhero. And I'd rather play that thing, get up to that thing, because that thing has range and decent HE and such. So it's nice that they're starting to incorporate some of the elements that Little White Mouse and Chobitsu designed for the Yukon finally into the game and providing it to us at no cost to those of us that have the Yukon purchased. It's nice to see that, but really, this whole thing needs to be taken back to the drawing board and given a bit of a tweak here or there. A little bit more range, more accuracy on the guns. I think it'd be in a much more comfortable place. But overall, the ship is fundamentally just terrible. And until they do something like that, I would not recommend anyone watching pick up the Yukon at all. Even if they give it to you for free, I really wouldn't recommend playing it because it is genuinely a very frustrating ship to play. This is legitimately one of the most frustrating ships to play in the game, even next to the likes of Roma, which I like the Roma, I do, but it's just so frustrating with the shotgun accuracy you get from the gun sometimes, and I'd much rather play the Roma than this thing. But anyway, guys, just want to give you guys my 2 cents on them adding in the Sackville camo, and take a look back at the Yukon as we do here so often recently. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Want to wait to 35,000 subs. Just passed 32,800 a few days ago, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.